Brother Eric John Pehlps, welcome to the podcast today with 24/7 World Radio Podcast. It is September the 18th, 2025, and this will be my last podcast with regard to the Jesuit assassination of the Protestant, Bible-believing Charlie Kirk. I have posted two videos on my 24/7 World Radio website under archive shows, under EJP Hour 2, Preaching and Teaching. And if you scroll down, you'll see the most recent posts, and they are two videos concerning the murder of Charlie Kirk. Now, I didn't edit anything, and it's gruesome, but you need to see it. So I put these videos up that you may see that Charlie Kirk was murdered by his own bodyguards. In fact, there were several spectators also involved in it that have not said a word. They didn't scream or cry and run off. They stood right there and they watched it all. And one of them is this young white woman standing next to what I call the white shirt shooter, white man with a white shirt on, the white shirt shooter. And she's standing next to him after he has raised his small caliber weapon. I would think it's probably around a .380, and it's no bigger than a 9mm. And she pulls herself away from him after he shoots Charlie, which further proves that this guy is the shooter. And so these two videos show that this white man, who I call the white shirt shooter, pulls a gun out of his holster with his left hand, and as he's pulling this gun out of his holster, he's bringing it up, and then he puts out his right arm take an aim and shoots Charlie. And when he shoots, the recoil of the gun is about almost the same time as Charlie is hit, and he recoils back. So there is no doubt in my mind that this guy is a shooter. And he's aided and abetted by this other white shirt bodyguard, I think his name is Kirk, with his 4 hand signals that he gets. And by the way, there's videos out there that have edited out a couple of these hand signals from this older white man who's a white shirted bodyguard. I believe his name is Kirk. So they're already starting to doctor these videos. But he's involved, and then there's this white guy. He looks military type, tattoos on his right arm, sunglasses on, dark shirt, black shirt. He's also involved. So that's 3. And then there's this white guy with his black shirt on and a red hat. And he is leaning on the barricade. And this is off to, as you're watching the video on the left. And he's standing next to a white woman. I don't know if it's his wife or not, but he's standing next to this white woman. And when the shot rings out, he doesn't do anything. He's watching. You know why? Because he's a part of it. I'd venture to say that there were 8 to 10 people involved in this, right next to Charlie Kirk. And I also believe that the military signals that this older white-shirted conspirator was giving with his hand signs, my brother said, it's like when I used to play baseball. They gave those hand signs. Yeah, well, these are military hand signs. And so he's given these signs to someone while he's talking to him in his cell phone. And I maintain that he's talking to the shooter with a rifle, that somehow the shot from the handgun and the rifle shot are somehow simultaneous, and all all the attention is taken away from the people towards the local nearby handgun shooter, and they all turn and look to the rear, to the building where the shot evidently came from, where this shot of a rifle came from. So this is the distractionary shot in the Charlie Kirk murder. And I've seen no evidence of any round hitting anywhere. It didn't hit Kirk. That round in his neck is an entrance wound. And it's an exit wound, pardon me. The round in his throat, in the left side of his throat, which I maintain hit his carotid artery, is an exit wound shot from the white shirt shooter, shooting a .380 or a 9mm at the most. And probably a low velocity, because they didn't want it to go through Charlie Kirk and hit some of the bystanders. There's no evidence that I've seen that they've found the round. So there's some tremendous parallels here. And so we want to keep it simple, because we remember the simple things. We remember the simple conclusions. And one of the conclusions, I'm going to go through several of them. The first one, as they are mimicking the Kennedy assassination, is Kirk is surrounded by bodyguards. JFK was surrounded by bodyguards. Secret Service bodyguards. The shooting of JFK, the shooting of Kirk, was orchestrated. There were hand signs, an orchestration, and then the shot. With Kennedy, there were several shots, but then you have the shot that's a distractionary shot from the grassy knoll. The grassy knoll is a distractionary shot. Nobody was shot by James Files from the grassy knoll. That was a distractionary shot, and that distractionary shot had gunpowder. And the one, according to the deaf mute that saw this shooting from the grassy knoll, saw the guy take apart his weapon and put it away after he shot. It was a distractionary shot. It had smoke coming out of the gun to get the people in Dallas to be distracted over the grassy knoll shot, when the real shot came from the driver. And also the storm drain shooter. And there was another shot that hit Kennedy in the back that was shot from Secret Service agent George Hickey. You got Kellerman in the front seat, you got Greer in the front seat, you got Kellerman overseeing, he leans against the car door on the right, overseeing Greer turning around with his handgun, his .45, and shooting Kennedy in the head. At the same time, the storm drain shooter is shooting him in the head too. So it was a puff of smoke. So you have a distractionary shot at the grassy knoll while the real killers are up close and personal. That's the Kirk assassination. That is the Kennedy assassination. Next, Kirk got his kill shot from his bodyguard. I maintain that the white man, who is the white shirt shooter, pulling that small caliber auto out of his pocket, of his left pocket, with his left hand, I maintain that he is the real shooter. And it becomes very clear as you watch both these videos that I have posted up there. And the one guy does a very good narration job, but the video with the narration on it isn't as clear as the video that's silent that I put up there. Next, you have, it's a short range shot. Kennedy's kill shot was short range. In the movie JFK, one of the lines in the movie is one of the deputies of Jim Garrison says to Jim Garrison, there hasn't been an executive murder with a rifle in over 200 years. That's because Kennedy was shot with a handgun. Kirk was shot with a handgun. And of course, then they're going to try to blame the American people to justify taking away the handguns. That's what they always do. That's what they did after the Kennedy assassination. They passed the wicked 1968 gun law with help from the National Rifle Association. So blame the people for the Secret Service or bodyguards carrying out an executive action. All the more reason why you need to keep your guns. Next, we have the Secret Service agent that shot Kennedy was Greer. And the kill shot that killed Kirk, I don't know the man's name. But we need to find out. Maybe Kash Patel could tell us. You think he will? Or is he just focusing on the patsy? Which brings me to my next point. The Kirk assassination has a patsy. His name is Robinson. Kennedy assassination had a patsy. His name was Oswald. It's a distractionary patsy while the real killers can get away and never be prosecuted for anything. We also see that Kirk was taken to the hospital, deader than a hammer, in a government vehicle, or his black limousine. Kennedy was taken to the hospital in his limousine. I saw a picture of the inside of the limousine. There's blood and gore all over the seat. And there was blood and gore all over Kirk when they were carrying him and loading him into that sedan. Dead. Both of them were dead when they were loaded up. So we have the autopsy, we have the report of the bullet wounds of Kennedy, but we have no report of the bullet wounds on Kirk. Has there been any report of bullet wounds on Kirk by a medical doctor? I don't know of any. And the medical doctors in Dallas said, well, the throat wound was a wound of entry when all the liars at Bethesda Naval Hospital says it was a wound of an exit. So, JFK was taken back to D.C. in Air Force One in the presence of his co-conspirator and assassin, Lyndon Baines Johnson, with his dear friend and co-conspirator, Knight of Malta, Jack Valenti. Okay? With another co-conspirator there, and they're going to load up the body in Air Force One, and it would be, J. Edgar Hoover. Not Knight of Malta. See, it's a high-level government op, just like it is here with Charlie Kirk. And they've tried to brainwash you people, especially you Gen X people, to think there's no such thing as a conspiracy, because if you don't believe in conspiracies, you'll never understand true history. Julius Caesar was killed with a conspiracy. You have Lincoln is killed with a conspiracy. There's conspiracies all the time when powerful men of secret societies serving the Pope of Rome are ordered to terminate somebody. It's a conspiracy. So, Kirk is taken in Air Force One back to Arizona. You know why? Because his lead assassin overseeing it all, Donald Trump, made sure that he would pretend that he was in sympathy with the murder of Charlie Kirk when Trump, most assuredly, is a party to it. Why? Because he benefits. And this is why he was killed. Remember, it's not about all these intimate details. These are basic details. They're easily provable. Kirk, as I covered in a previous broadcast, was doing things that was a threat to the government of the nation of Israel run by the Pope. And we must always distinguish between the government of Israel, the Masonic Jewish Labor Zionist government of Israel, working for the Pope, and the beloved Hebrew Jewish Israelites. Yeah, the real Jews. They're not so-called Jews. They're not Khazars. They're racial Hebrew Jewish Israelites living in their land. And they have every right to because of the Abrahamic covenant. But the government ruling them is ruling for the Pope and giving those people a bad name. For example, the attack on the USS Liberty in 1967, which I cover on my website here. Did the Jewish people attack the American destroyer, the USS Liberty? Or was it that criminal government that attacked the USS Liberty, working for the Pope, overseen by LBJ and Richard Helms, as Helms was the head of the CIA at the time? And the leading Jew there, Raphael Tan, he was involved in the setting up of Jonathan Pollard to send him to jail for, 20 years. They're all working together for the Pope. And any true nationalist or patriot that's in a place of power that wants to do the right thing will be terminated or removed from power because he goes up against the government of the Pope there, be it in Israel or be it in America. So you young people, you're going against Israel. Beware. That's a deadly piece of dirt. And if you don't side with the Jews and their right to that land, you're going to suffer, maybe even die. That's a scary curse. I'll bless those that bless thee and curse those that curse thee. Genesis 12, 1 through 3. Before the Abrahamic covenant is instituted in Genesis 15. But, I'm afraid of God. And I'm afraid what he would do to me if I tried to prevent those racial people from living in their own land when they have every right to it. Now, as far as supporting the government of Israel, the AIPAC government of Israel, I would never do it. I don't believe in foreign aid for anybody. I'm a nationalist. I'm an American. We take care of our people here. Why should we build the world? Why should we be involved in world wars for the Pope? No more foreign wars. I have a bumper sticker. No more Jesuit wars. No more foreign wars. Let's just take care of our own nation, have our own borders, have our 200-mile limits offshore, and we take care of ourselves. And let Israel do what she wants to do to the Arab nations because she would annihilate them. Go ahead. Lord wants that nation. He wants those people in his land. And he's going to want the third Hebrew temple built because that third Hebrew temple has to be there for the two prophets, Moses and Elijah, to come back and preach to Israel Jesus Christ and the nation to repent and believe on him with their gospel of the kingdom. That third Hebrew temple is called the Temple of God in Revelation 11, verses 1 and 2, even though it's going to be built by agents of the Pope for the benefit of the Pope. When the last 3.5 years of the 70th week of Daniel, that Antichrist, that man of sin, is going to go down to the Hebrew temple and demand to be worshipped as God for 3.5 years. It doesn't mean we should not facilitate the building of the third Hebrew temple. Remember, Solomon's temple, the Herodian temple, was built by Herod, that wicked sinner. For many years, an addition was going on to that place. It was still the temple of God. Jesus Christ, when he walked that temple ground, called it the temple of God. You made my father's house a den of thieves. And it's supposed to be a house of prayer for all nations. Why? Because I've come to establish the Davidic kingdom premised upon Israel's national repentance, and will use this temple for my kingdom. But no, you will not have it. So Israel did not repent. They lost their nation. They lost their temple. Been in diaspora for 2,000 years, and now they're back, as prophesied by Moses in Deuteronomy 28, Ezekiel chapter 37, 36, 37, and Matthew 24, 25, and other places. And so Israel's back in their land. The Jews are back in their land, and they have a right to live in their land. But we distinguish between their right to live in their land and the government that rules that nation, which is serving the Pope, to the detriment of the Hebrew Jewish Israelites living there. So no. Charlie Kirk was wrong. Charlie Kirk didn't get the difference between the AIPAC-backed government of Israel working for the Pope and the right of the Jewish people to live there. He should have said, oh no, I'm all for the Jews living in their own land. But that government there is to their detriment and it's working for the Pope. But Charlie Kirk never went after the Pope. The poop. The wicked sinner claiming to be the vicar of Christ. God deliver us. Kirk never went after him. He should have. And I'd venture to say some of his killers are Roman Catholics. That's right. I know that Turek guy, he'd been a Roman Catholic, but he converted. Oh, goody, he converted to participate in murder. Catholic murder. So I've covered some of the things that were a threat to this emergency war powers military government as of March 9th, 1933 here in America. And the big deal is right now they're preparing for civil war. That's why academia has taught the blacks to hate all white people in general. That's why these blacks, and they're no 13% of the population. Whoever told you that's lying. They're 50% of the population in most major cities in this country, and even more. The black population in America is at least 30%. And they're committing 60 to 70% of the violent crimes. It's not 50%. Go to any prison. Been in jail lately? Been in any serious prisons lately? It's vast majority black. And it's for violent crimes, murder, rape, robbery, and much of it black on white crime. Because they hate us, they hate white people, and they can't wait to damage us as soon as they get up in the morning. And that's exactly how they've been programmed by this academia and military government, so that the more crimes they commit, the more justification white people have to go into the new right and then come back with a horrible, terrible backlash to round these majority savage blacks up and send them to the concentration camps. And that's where you're going, black people. You cannot hold a candle to white race people when they decide to declare war on somebody. And they're going to declare war on you. This is going to be a civil war. And it's going to be nasty and ugly and bloody. But you blacks are going to lose. But the problem is, you're not only going to lose, we're going to lose too. Because we're going to lose our country to a military dictator and a military occupation here that's going to be merciless. They're going to have guillotines. They're going to break out their 100,000 mobile guillotines. They're going to start chopping off heads. There won't be any more black slums anymore. They'll be gone. Because they got to pave the way for the red Chinese to get here. Yeah, that's right. What Kirk was doing is he was preventing the coming race war, civil war. Because if it got out that Trump was, well, if it got out that, I know Kirk thought Trump was attempted assassination. There was no, Trump was never shot in the ear. If it forever got out that Trump was never really shot in the ear, and then it was all faked, and the whole Photoshop of fight, 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 when he gets up in the midst of those Secret Service agents, and that woman, that female Secret Service agent, is Russian. If that would be known, the gig is up. And so there are many things that he was doing, several things he was doing, that if the war against Hamas would stop, because they're calling for a ceasefire, if there's a ceasefire, those Muslim mosques are not going down in Jerusalem. And if those Muslim mosques are not going down in Jerusalem, there's going to be no third Hebrew temple. And there has to be a third Hebrew temple for the two Hebrew prophets to get there with Moses and Elijah in Revelation 11. And there has to be a third Hebrew temple for the Antichrist, for the beast. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. There has to be a third Hebrew temple to the fulfillment of the mystery of godliness and the mystery of iniquity. Mystery of iniquity in 2 Thessalonians 2, the mystery of godliness in 1 Timothy 3. Has to be there. That temple has to be there. And I hope on my website, Vatican Assassins, I show you a picture of the temple with all these Freemasons standing around it, with their model temple if they're going to rebuild it. They've been planning this for years. It's going to happen. This is a perfect opportunity in this war between Israel and Hamas to destroy the Muslim mosques, of which the Muslim Freemason leaders will be a part of. so that there can be a third Hebrew temple. And I maintain the reason why those Muslims in Saudi Arabia gave Trump the sword dance is because that's exactly what's going to happen. Trump is coming along to have a war in the Middle East to destroy these Muslim mosques so that there can be a third Hebrew temple pursuant to our worship of Baphomet in the Templar Masonic Lodge overseen by the Jesuit order. Whether you be Muslim, whether you be Catholic, whether you be Protestant, apostate Protestant, whether you be Jew, it's all the Masonic Lodge overseen by the Jesuits being coordinated in the various things that they're doing, and especially now with this topic, the murder of Kirk. Charlie Kirk. So, and I mentioned we have the pasties. We got Robinson with Kirk, we got Oswald with JFK. It's typical. And if you think that that kid, that Robinson did the shooting, you need your head examined. You're not able to properly discern things. And you definitely haven't learned anything from history. And I'm talking primarily to Gen X, okay? This generation, you've been robbed, raped, and pillaged, injected, vaccinated, brainwashed, so that you know nothing. You have a religion. Your religion is cultural Marxism. And left-wing socialist communism, that's a religion. It's not based on anything factual. It doesn't produce any wealth whatsoever. You have a religion. And it's time you reevaluated your religion based upon the facts, these kinds of facts that you're getting. So, watch the videos. See that the shooter is the white man with the white shirt and that the other bodyguards are facilitating. The other older white man, I think his name is Kirk, with the white shirt on, he's talking in his phone, giving hand signs, 4 hand signs. You know, they've been tampering with that video. It shows only two hand signs. He gave 4. And he's giving it to the long-range shooter so that he can take a distractionary shot that probably there isn't even a round coming out of it. It's a thud, it's a blank, but it's big and loud for a distractionary shot, like the grassy knoll shot was a distractionary shot, while the real killers get away. And you got the press working for you too. You got Sean Hannity and Laura Ingraham and the people at MSNBC with Lawrence O'Donnell and those other senators busy covering it up, busy talking about the shooter, and there's not one of them with the guts enough to tell you it's up front and close as it was in the Kennedy assassination, because they're all a bunch of intellectual, professional prostitutes in academia and the press, paid to lie to you and cheat you out of your country, cheat you out of your life. So that in the end, we have nothing. We've lost our country. The Jews have been persecuted. They're going to kill every Jew in North America here when the new right comes to power. With the blessing of Bibi Netanyahu, because they don't want the Jews of America and Israel. They regard them as a bunch of Jewish Japs, Jewish American princesses. Yeah, they don't want that in Israel. They just want the wealthy Jews, and the rest can go to the camps. Remember, there was a rabbi in the U.S. here, personal friend of FDR, and he didn't want the Jews to come out of Europe to America. He was a reformed rabbi. It's the same way here. Same way here. The rabbis here, they don't want the Jews to go back to Israel. They want them sacrificed here. And the new right's going to do it. And Trump's bringing the new right to power. And Kirk would have prevented that had this war in against Hamas stopped. I'm for completely eliminating Hamas and giving Gaza back to the Jewish people. It's their land. They have every right to it. And Ariel Sharon ought to be burnt in effigy, who gave that place away in 2005. You got to read the book, Bye Bye Gaza by Barry Chamish. It's a classic work on it. He was driven from America by the Masonic Jewish Labor Zionist government of Israel working for the Pope. He had to settle in Florida, and he finally died there several years ago. So, in conclusion, the assassination of Charlie Kirk is absolutely parallel to the assassination of JFK. And it's my prayer that you, dear listeners, especially you youngsters, you Generation X, don't fall for the lies of the news media. You don't fall for the lie that this Robinson did it. And that you don't fall for the lie that Kash Patel and Dan Bongino and the Attorney General Pam Bondi, overseen by Donald Trump, they're all doing their best to solve it. They're not doing their best. They're doing their best to cover it up. So we can continue on our road to destruction of civil war, race war, declaration of martial law, bringing out the mobile guillotines and the plastic coffins, opening up of the FEMA camps. All of this is coming for us. It's all in place, folks. And the Jesuits will bring it about through legitimate grievances that we white people have had to put up with for the last 60, 70 years. And because we don't read the Bible anymore, we don't trust God, we are going to be deceived and duped into the new right to do exactly what the Jesuits tell their new right leaders to do and use us to do. And God deliver us. That's why I advocate racial separation and nationhood. I want my own white nation somewhere here in North America. I don't hate anybody, but I have a right to be white and to maintain my white Anglo-Saxon, Protestant, Baptist, Calvinist history with our libraries and our great inventions so that they're not destroyed in the up-and-coming Civil War, military occupation, two-front war at least, and then final Sino-Soviet Muslim invasion. That's what they want to do. That's what I wrote about 25 years ago in my book, Vatican Assassins, and they're right on time. May the Lord raise up certain men and women to set this back by telling the truth about the Charlie Kirk assassination. So watch the videos. See who did it. Seek the Lord. Repent of any known sin, and ask God to use you to set this back. Brother Eric John Pehlps, thank you for listening to the broadcast today. I have a book, Vatican Assassins, Wound in the House of My Friends. Please go to my website, vaticanassassins.org. Pick up something there. Please send a gift to RBT, P.O. Box 306, Newmanstown, Pennsylvania 17073. Or Cash App at my cash tag, Eric, E-R-I-C, John, J-O-N, Pehlps, P-H-E-L-P-S. Or you can send a PayPal gift to RBPB Donate, RBPB Donate, Comcast.net. One more final thought. As I've been doing this for over 30 years now, teaching this and being on broadcasts and speaking publicly, I've learned something. And it's a very difficult lesson. There's not going to be but 1 or 2, 3, maybe 5 white men that will ever use their money or political power or influence to expose this. To expose this Jesuit rule of this country, of this emergency war powers military government since March 9, 1933. I don't know of any that ever exposed that. I have a couple of supporters that help me tremendously. But there are white men in this country that have hundreds of millions of dollars that can say, all right, we're going to get these guys and we're going to tell the truth about the Kirk assassination because they're willing to say it. They're willing to preach it. And if we're willing to pay for it, they're going to do it. They're not there. The white men of this country are cowards and gutless and faithless and afraid to do the right thing in the face of an overwhelming power of the Jesuit order, high-level Freemasonry, and all the secret societies in the intelligence community. They're scared to death of it. The Bible teaches us that the fear of man bringeth a snare, but whosoever trusteth in the Lord shall be safe. It's my prayer that you'll trust in the Lord, white men, because if anybody's going to deliver us, it's going to be white men. Blacks can't do it, Asians can't do it, and Hispanics can't do it. It's going to have to be white men that are going to have to lawyer up. They're going to have to pay their money. Remember, our founding fathers, you realize most of them died penniless? They were wealthy men. John Hancock had a whole fleet of ships. At the end of the war, the British had sunk every one of them or captured them. John Hancock had some guts. He was a Calvinist. It's like John Adams, or Sam Adams. He was the Calvinist. Between those two, We had a wonderful American Revolution that was Protestant, Calvinistic, fought by faith, and God blessed us with the greatest political leader in the 1700s, Brother George Washington, the Baptist Calvinist, baptized by his great favorite chaplain John Gano in the Hudson River in the face of 100 witnesses. You get William P. Grady's work on that history. The time is now. It's time that righteous men be valiant for the truth in the earth, because the night is coming when no one works. May all these conspirators be exposed for killing Charlie Kirk, because if they did it to him, they'll do it to you too. And may the Lord doeth what seemeth good to him as we seek his face in this late hour. Until next time, Maranatha, the Lord bless you.